Hi there, this is Sean, the Honest Book Reviewer, with another book review. In this video, we're discussing Bird Box, written by Josh Malerman. It is the book that the Netflix movie is based on. Now, I haven't seen the movie yet. I think I've watched maybe the first 5 minutes, and I hadn't read this book before either. And the book's quite a few years old now, so many people have read it, and many people have watched the movie, so the plot will come as no surprise to a lot of people. But when I saw this book at the library, I grabbed it thinking, okay, I'll read the book before I see the movie. And maybe the book is so gripping and so wonderful because people are raving about it and they made a movie about it. But when I read this, I was a bit disappointed. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Maybe my expectations were too high considering all the hype. I'm not sure about that. But just the writing style, I think, let it down a bit. And it just felt like it wasn't as gripping as it should have been. And I thought the scenes where Mallory, the main character, is in the boat on the river, they were more gripping than Mallory in the house with strangers. And I was disappointed that a lot of the book is based in the house. But let's talk more about the book now. Many people will know this plot already. The world is thrown into turmoil. Something's going on and it's causing people to act insanely. Basically, they're hurting other people, hurting themselves, doing crazy things, and no one knows what's triggering it. It seems to be triggered by invisible things, invisible creatures maybe, or something in the air, we're not sure. But we do know, as the book goes on, that if people go outside and they open their eyes, and something comes close to them, they see something that causes them to go insane. And whatever it is can get inside as well. So to stay safe, you have to stay indoors somewhere, cover all the exits and entries, cover any windows, basically live in darkness and let nothing in or out of where you're staying. If you go outside, you have to blindfold yourself or keep your eyes closed. Don't open your eyes and look around. So that's the world Mallory finds herself in. And she finds herself alone. Her sister was with her, but her sister died. She's pregnant and she needs to get to safety. She's not sure if she can survive on her own. And she read about a house. There was an advertisement about a house that was asking people to come stay there, welcoming people. So she thinks she'll go there, she'll be safe there. But she has to get there without seeing. And that's where I think the first flaw is in this book. It's a very big journey for somebody with their eyes closed who's not too sure of all the area. I mean, if you're traveling with your eyes closed and you don't know what's out there, are there cars everywhere in the way? Are there dangers? Are there wild animals that are going to get you? Even just normal household dogs, pets that might turn wild because they're looking for food. Are they out to get you as well? But somehow she finds herself to this house and she reaches some sort of safety. In this house, it's a good setup. They've got a cellar with a lot of food. There's a well for water. They can go and raid other houses in the neighborhood if they need to. There's a supermarket nearby, apparently they find later on in the book. So they're pretty secure in this place. And when she gets there, there's about 4 or 5 other people. And somebody else turns up after her as well. And that woman is also pregnant. So there's 2 pregnant people in this house. And there's no doctors. So if anything goes wrong with the pregnancy, with the birth, there's no one there to really save them. That's quite dangerous as well. And that's part of, I guess, what the author's trying to make this novel gripping about human behaviour and human nature. And that's what this book is mostly about, I think. A lot of the horror, a lot of the thrills or the tension comes from human behaviour. Are the monsters really human, or the creatures or whatever it is that's causing people to go insane? I won't dive too much more into that part of the story, and that part of the story in the past is most of the book anyway. The parts of the book that I enjoyed the most are Mallory and the 2 children who are 4, so the present day storyline, walking to the river, getting on a boat, a small canoe, I think it is, and travelling downriver basically to try to find another secure location where they're sure they're going to get safety, and they hope they'll get safety for the rest of their lives. And I don't know how Mallory is able to travel on this river with eyes closed. They've all got their eyes closed. They can't see where they're going. They can't see obstacles in their way. How did they end up doing it? I don't know. And I think that's a little bit of a flaw as well because it's very hard to believe it actually happens. Another part of this book that I don't really understand how it happens because we don't get told is how Mallory is able to survive with 2 children raising them from birth to 4 years old. When they can't see, when they go outside, where are they going to get their food from and water from and medicine from? Because you can imagine that 2 babies from birth to 4 years old, that they're going to get sick. And how do you care for them? So that's a bit hard to believe as well in this story, and it's not explained. It's a shame as well, because it's these things in the story that need to be explained, because the reader is just expected to believe that she's some sort of superhuman, supermum that can do everything and survive anything, and nobody's going to get sick or injured. Nobody's going to need medicine for the smallest thing. So it's very, very hard to believe just the whole setup of this story. Mallory is our main character. Now, I'm not sure if I engage with Mallory very much in this book, and I don't know if it's down to the writing style, which I didn't really like, or it's just down to the character itself, the way the character's formed in the book. Mallory feels a bit one-dimensional sometimes, and doesn't feel well-formed, well-rounded. That's my opinion. She just doesn't feel like a complete character. There's something lacking. She has a few highs and lows, ups and downs in the story, but she's missing some sort of nuance in the story, I think. And I think the author is going for one side of Mallory, the survivor side, but we don't see how she is able to survive everything. We're just told to believe it. And that, in a way, doesn't make me believe in Mallory as a character. Tom is one of the people in the first house Mallory goes to. Now, he's another character that is a bit one-dimensional, one-sided. He's the hero character, the one who wants to save everybody and help everybody and go out of his way to do it. He's the one that goes exploring outside and puts himself in danger and at risk all the time for the group, for everybody. So you've got that hero character in Tom. And it seems in the house we have different characters and different people, and they're all pretty much stereotypes of characters in either books or movies of this type of genre. That's what I found in this book when I was reading it. Don is another person in the house. Now he's the cynical, paranoid character who gets more cynical and paranoid as time goes on. And he's another one of those tropes, those stereotypes that happen in stories like this. Something weird's going on, no one's sure what's going on, so you always have to have a paranoid person, a cynical person that drives that side of the storyline, the more manic side. That's what Don does in this book. He's used quite well to do that. Probably used the best, I think, out of all the characters in the house for the part he plays, so I think that's well done. But he is a bit one-dimensional, and he needs more depth, more well-rounding, and I think that's the flaw of most of the characters in this story. I'm not sure if the movie of this book will be better, but I hope it is, because I didn't enjoy this read very much at all. I rated it 2 out of 5. I didn't like the writing style. I didn't like the fact that we're meant to believe things that just seem unbelievable in the setup of this story. How can somebody survive with children from birth to 4 years old with no help, and not being able to see when they go outside, and having no medicine around? Just doesn't seem true when you're reading it. Well, to me anyway. Also, I didn't like all the past storyline. I like the present day more, but there's not enough of that present day storyline in this book to get my interest, to keep me hooked. But I just wish that this book was just written a little bit better. The characters are more well-rounded. The idea of this story is very original, and I enjoyed the idea of the story. Just the execution of it, for me anyway, just seemed a bit lacking. On my channel, I do review quite a few horror books. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. There's also a horror playlist on my channel. It should be on your screen now.